Just played the audio. She was on David Letterman. She spoke about going to Target. She talked about meeting a short woman who was in the detergent aisle. And she said, nobody knew who I was. This woman didn't know who I was. Asked if I could help and get the detergent. She said the short woman then said you didn't need to make it look that easy. So she had a good sense of humor. That's what she said on David Letterman about a year ago. Now, in People magazine, when asked about the kind of racism they have to put up with, the Obamas, there in the White House, this is what she said. Can you read this, please?
I think people forget that we've lived in the White House for 6 years. Before that, Barack Obama was a black man that lived on the south side of Chicago who had his share of troubles catching cabs. I tell this story, even as the First Lady, during that wonderfully publicized trip I took to Target, not highly disguised, the only person who came up to me in the store was a woman who asked me to help her take something off a shelf because she didn't see me as the First Lady. She saw me as someone who could help her. Those kinds of things happen in life, so it isn't anything new.
And then the next line is Barack talking about race as well, right?
Read the next line.
There's no black male my age who's a professional who hasn't come out of a restaurant waiting for their car and somebody didn't hand them their car keys.
So it's all about race all around, and this is obviously she's telling this as a racial story.
Okay, now, Donna is on the phone. She's a fan of Pat and Stu. She called the Pat and Stu show yesterday, and we have her on her word, so we don't have independent verification, that her sister is the one that was in the aisle that asked the First Lady, could you help me with that box of detergent? Donna, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Why should we believe you that this is your sister?
Well, there's no reason except that there's no reason for me to call and tell you all this except that it happened.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the funny thing is, my sister didn't even know it was Michelle Obama until she was lying in the bed with her husband watching David Letterman and heard Michelle Obama tell the story, and she looked at her husband and said, "That was me." And he wouldn't believe her, except that Michelle Obama included that detail about, well, you didn't have to make it look so easy, that's my sister. He knew she would have said that. And he said, oh, my word, it was you. And that's how she found out that it was Michelle Obama, and then wrote her a little note. Now, whether Michelle Obama ever got it, I don't know. She just said, hey, it was me in the store, and I probably didn't even say thank you. What she didn't tell her, and she told us, and we laughed about it, was probably one of the reasons why she didn't recognize her is because she didn't really look up. She was examining the detergent. She said she reached down a real flowery scent, and this was for her son to take off to college, and she kept thinking, I'd really like a different one, but I'd hate to ask this woman to put this back and get another one too.
So she didn't even engage. She didn't even engage. Wait.
Accurately the first time, but she is twisting it now to make my sister out to be a racist. Now, her name isn't out there, but I just got furious on my sister's behalf. We have political differences big time, but my sister is not a racist.
Okay, your sister you're a fan of Pat and Stu, so I'm assuming that you're a conservative. And your sister, it's our understanding, because I believe somebody at the Blaze spoke to your sister yesterday, I think.
I think Keith did, our phone screener.
Yeah, I asked her for permission to give her number to y'all, because I wasn't going to do that without her permission. So, she had no idea I called. I thought she'd be furious with me. And
right, well, it's our impression that she was not, that she's actually very upset that she's being painted as a racist as well.
Yeah, she's not happy about it because she knows how it happened, and Michelle Obama knows too, because she wouldn't have told the story like she did on David Letterman, very close to the real event. Now, time has passed, and it's a great story for her to, make it into a race thing, which it is not. And that's why I just called to set the record straight, because that infuriated me. I'm all about great race relations. I want to talk about it. If I can help anyway, I want to help, but this is not helping. There's real racism out there we could talk about. This is not real racism at all. Race didn't even come into play.
Your sister voted for for Barack Obama twice.
Oh yes. They are huge Obama fans, which I know, and I'm the one.
So how is that? How's that?
Where my brother-in-law works, which I won't say, but the banter around the water cooler at that station was, hey, when that story broke, wasn't this your wife? and they were, jabbing him about it. So can you imagine if his wife came on Glenn Beck?
Here's the interesting.
Here's the end of it.
Here's the interesting thing. That station knows exactly what the story is.
Oh, they're not going to play it, though.
That is fascinating.
Yes, it is.
That they have firsthand knowledge of who this person is, how it came down.
When they found out about it on the David Letterman show, of course, he went into the office laughing about it. Y'all aren't going to believe this, but, my sister ran into, told the whole story. So that's when the story broke. They knew exactly who it was. But you'll never hear about it over there. No.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. But I don't appreciate anybody making someone else out to look like a racist when clearly they are not. And she told the story honestly the first time. And it was fluky. I would love to be in on a conspiracy, believe me, because I just love you, Glenn. But there's nothing more to it. I mean, I went to high school. I grew up there, and I went to high school with senators' kids and diplomats. And we weren't a wealthy family by any stretch. But, I mean, growing up in the area, it was not uncommon at all.
But
to run into somebody at the grocery store, that just happens,
Well, God bless you. I appreciate it. Say hello to your sister. I hope she ends up going on the record with the Blaze. We will tell the story as she tells it to us.
Yeah, I wish she would.
Yeah, and Donna, I know the news department's trying to get in touch with her, and they haven't had too much success since we initially talked to her. So if maybe you could assist in that, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, she teaches school during the day, and she doesn't take off work for anything, so you can get her in the afternoons. But anyway, I just wanted to set the record straight. And
thank you, Donna.
I hope she'll come on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless.
Thanks, Donna. And even if she doesn't come on, I would just
just
in text tell the story
for the record.
Yeah.
For the record, let's set this record straight. It's obscene. In a country that is having the kind of race relations that we have right now, that keep getting ratcheted up, for the First Lady to dig in her big basket of all the things, all the oppressions that she has had to suffer through, to come through and say that's her story when it's been told before completely differently, and the person who asked her is an Obama supporter times 10.
I mean, how on earth do you leave this situation continuing to be an Obama supporter? How can you see the way they manipulate racial relations for their own benefit when you're involved?
How do you continue to work? How do you continue to work at that news organization? How do you do that?
I don't know.
When it is your wife,
well, especially,
and everybody knows.
Yeah.
And now it is your wife, and here's a story in People magazine where she's changing history. Barack knows you got to change our history. She's changing history. And it's your wife. And everybody in the office knows that's your wife. Don't you have a little bit of righteous indignation and say, guys, you either correct this story because this is about my wife. And I don't care. I know nobody knows this is about my wife. This is important to me, to my wife. This hurts my wife. We're supporters. We have no axe to grind. This story needs to be corrected. And if they don't, why wouldn't you walk?
Yeah.
Do you have no credibility? Do you have no honor and integrity? Is there not a chivalrous bone in your body for your wife? How do you forget about the supporting of how do you continue to work there?
If they won't tell that story, knowing that they actually have it through one of their employees, if they won't tell that story to protect them, how can you possibly work there? I mean, these people are willing to wreck your wife?
Yeah. They are willing to let your wife go through a buzzsaw. And this isn't even a big story. So if they're willing to do this to your wife, so what? She's in a wood chipper. Oh, well. And you're willing to let your wife go through the wood chipper when the chips are down, so to speak. When things are really important, how do you trust that you know what the news is? How do you trust you're getting the truth?
I mean, I guess if you work at this particular establishment, you don't care what the truth is. But
no,
still,
I disagree with that. I think those people are so
some of them
they've had to convince themselves of two things. One, either the ends justify the means, And I think this is the deal. They'll say, look, it wasn't that important a story and nobody knows and this is going to be gone. Why dig all this up? And it's only going to put your wife in the spotlight. And you don't want that to happen. Mm-hmm. And so they've just convinced themselves, ends justify the means. It's not that big of a deal, blah, 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 blah.
Well, let me ask you this. As we said, Donna was a caller. She called into Pat and Stu yesterday, and we just talked to her here. Our news department is working on making sure everything's buttoned up on this story. So as of now, it's not a news story. It's just a caller.
Yes.
But you listen to her. Do you believe her?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely. I mean, she, to me, sounds completely credible.
Yes, I do.
And, look, that's not enough for a news story, but it's a pretty amazing thing. She doesn't sound like she has, a huge axe to grind. She wants to protect her sister. I mean, that's a human instinct. And
you know what? Because her sister is, because this story is easy to verify. I mean, it's easy to verify once you have the names, and we have the names. Once you have the names, it's easy to verify. Does that person work there? Does that person do this? Right. What, you're not going to make up this story. You're not going to say, and her husband works for this person at this network, because, who's done that kind of thinking?
Yeah.
And how would you know that we very well could know that individual. Somebody in our organization, I can guarantee you, knows that individual.
Yeah,
so, it's just, nobody sits there and makes that up.
No. And she gave a lot of different details, too, in the initial call. Yeah. It sounds, but again, this is why you have a news organization.
Yeah,
to make sure these things are
And
right.
she even said, I know that her name isn't out there, but I was mad because I knew it was my sister.
Right. But her sister, talking to the producers yesterday, talking to the news people yesterday, her sister said she was mad. She's a supporter and everything else, but she's mad.
Wouldn't you be?
I would.
Especially when you say she's probably spent hundreds of hours defending these people.
Yeah.
She's probably sat there with some conservative, her sister, around a Thanksgiving table and said, no, you're wrong about these people. That's not what they do. And now here she is, a victim of it. I mean, that's crushing. It's crushing.
Yep.